doors for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come be live every weeknight at midnight Eastern for a conversation about guns. So we're going to start off with this video, see if anybody shows up tonight to chat. And
this is
what's
one
a
video
blast
that
from
I've
the
been
past.
making for a while. I've taken some still pictures of this one before, but this is the first time we've gotten our hands on it for a video. And it's a pretty neat pistol in my opinion. Oh, it's in a cool little box to begin with. It's from Magnum Research. So it's from the same people that brought you the Desert Eagle. But it's a lot smaller version than that one. It says 380 Micro Eagle. So pulling it out of the box here. Comes in that plastic. It's got a couple of tags on it. This one says, don't attempt to operate the firearm without reading the closed instruction manual, so we'll do that. This one says, warning, children are attracted to and can operate firearms. It's great to know, so pay attention to those warnings. What we're going to do is check to see if it's loaded. It's not. Cut that magazine. Get this piece of sticker off of here. And this one says, beware of your grip placement during firing. So thanks to the lawyers out there, we now have instructions just about every possible thing that can go wrong. So we're looking at a Micro Desert Eagle. It's a 380, so it's a very small version of their larger pistols. It's a neat one. I'm attracted to it because of that large trigger guard. Just really like the looks of it. It's nice and square. I figure putting that in a pocket breaks up the outline real well. Like I say, it comes in this pretty decent case. It's not the best case only because it's sort of a one-trick pony. When they have these inserts, they're made for the gun they're made for. But what's nice about this one is it does look like the insert could be removed, and then you just have a nice lockable case that you could either put some foam into or carry some ammo and take it to the range as a range box. It's got its spent shell. A lot of people wonder what these are for, because unless we live in the state that requires them, it's kind of worthless. But what this is each pistol that's made for sale in the U.S. these days has a spent shell, so that back east, some of the cities or counties or whatever it is can keep track of all these spent shells and allegedly fight crime that way. It comes with a brush and then a small, I guess it's the cleaning rod, but instead of being plastic or anything, it's the same material as a brush. It's the first one I've seen like that with a little curl at the end. And it's one of the only pistols I've seen that comes with both a brush and a rod. That's pretty handy. And what else do we got here? We've got a lock. You have to have a lock these days, again, because of lawyers. And this is the type that will, it's a pretty handy one. It'll open up. Does it say Magnum Research? No. But at least it's a cool black color. It'll open up and like a regular lock, but it's got this long cable. The idea being that you would have it open, drop that lock down through the mag well, and then reattach it. And now you can't insert a mag, you can't chamber around. It's ineffective. It's effectively out of commission. What's nice about these two is if you're traveling, you can lock this to a curtain rod or a pipe underneath the sink or the guts up underneath the seat of your car. It's a nice handy lock to have around for these small pistols so that you can lock the pistol securely someplace. Again, because of the lawyers, I think just about everywhere you have to have a lock with new guns. And they're almost always fairly decent, like this one's a pretty decent lock. So there's not a heck of a lot to say about it. It is sort of a small pistol, and this isn't a shooting video, but I'll go over some of the features of it. It's a 4.5-inch overall, 380 caliber. It's got a 2.22-inch barrel. about 3.7 ounces or 3.7 inches this way. It says it's 0.9 inches this way, so just under an inch wide. They call it a nickel Teflon finish, and it weighs about 14 ounces with an empty magazine. It's a 6-round magazine, double action only trigger. It does have a hammer, but you don't need to cock it or anything. Safeties are all internal. It's pretty much meant for defense, so there's not extra bells and whistles. The sight picture. See if I can't show that. That'd probably be a good sight picture for it. You've got the notch back here and a slight front. If you needed to, looks like you could probably rack that on your gear or on a belt in an emergency. Does not stay open last round, which is one of the bigger disadvantages of the 380 pistols. Just about all of them. It feels pretty decent in the hand. Something about it, a lot of times when you only have the 1 or 2 fingers on it, they seem like you're not getting a good grip, but something about this notch back here or something, it really feels secure. And I haven't shot one of these yet. I suspect they're pretty decent to shoot. The reason I say that is I hang out around gun shops quite a bit, and I had never seen a used one of these. I've seen quite a few of them get sold, but none of them come back as used, so I'm guessing that people that buy these really like them. I figure since we've got it out here, and I have the resources to do it, I'm going to pull a couple other 380s out with it, just so I can compare them. And these are my favorite 380s. This is the car, another fairly new one, and then the Ruger. So this is, well, at least for my opinion, the best 380s out there right now. And not quite exactly the same. This one's all polymer, this one's polymer, and this one's a steel frame. So a little heavier. Their overall lengths are a little different. The Kel-Tec is actually the big one out of these 3. The car is right in the middle. And this little Desert Eagle, usually some of the largest pistols.
I'm embarrassed by that crap. Went in the other room to let the show kind of start, but I can't even keep that going. It's dribble. So we'll start the show off here. This is episode 1200 something, and I've been doing a daily show every weeknight since 2016, and in this iteration of it, we send out a link there, and we invite you to join in a valid conversation about guns. Earlier today, there was some conversation in Clover's chat that was interesting, but Clover missed my points. Yesterday, there was, well, I'm not going to talk about yesterday's chat. Just going through my Instagram over here. Got Kids Safe out there trying to do their thing. I think they're not quite being ignored. What the fuck? Just look at my actual posts again. We got DC Project doing their thing. This guy here, this is what I was looking at, the Ghost Guns thing. It's from 2A Woke, a fairly new channel. I don't know who that is. If anybody knows who that is, let me know. Many states are seeing a rise. I guess I could screen share this one. Barbecue jumping in, DJ jumped in. And you've got a link there, so you can click on it. You can be active in the chat, or this will go away because I'm sick of doing this for the 3 of us. We could have a phone call if I wanted to just talk to these 2 guys. We do this on the internet so that we can have a conversation. Every once in a while, somebody will jump in later. But this is not a show. It's supposed to be a bunch of people having a conversation here. So let's see. We got going down here to 2A Woke. This is the post I was talking about. Many states are seeing a rise in ghost guns being used in crimes. California is suing ATF because they won't regulate 80% kits. Find yourself debating someone on whether ghost guns should be regulating. Keep these 2 arguments in mind. If it's a crime for a felon to own a firearm, or it's a crime to make a homemade gun, something like that. If the 80% lowers exist because they're tired of restrictions, is that true? I don't know. So that's a conversation that's happening in the quiet because it's not the big. I don't know. I think it's getting lost. So we got a couple of just posts out here. This dude. Saw another one over here I was going to bring up. See, the problem is once you look at them, they don't usually come up again on the phone. How do I make it? Are they coming up in order?
If you remember whose channel it was, you can just go up to their icon in the scroll bar or the search, and then you can bring up the past posts that way. That's the only way I know about.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's just interesting. Like if on my phone right now, it goes, what is this, roll call? And then Julian Noir is like this is him putting something into his backpack or something. I feel like Michael Jackson. So he's putting that in his backpack. And then the next one on my phone is Stilettos and Shotguns. But on here, it's Guns and Guns podcast, which is the one after. So she's definitely not coming up right there. And then it's KD, and then it's Ed's. So it's literally didn't, like I can't show you my phone, but if I'm doing this exact scroll on my phone, right in between here is one from Stilettos and Shotguns that I was going to post. Now it is, what do they call that? When they do the circle thing at the top of Instagram on your phone, and then it goes live for however long. It looks like she was live for an hour. And then when it's all done, it leaves a placeholder on the stream. That's probably, I guess, why that is. So that's not necessarily shadow banning. It's just a characteristic of the system that, I guess, on the computer, it's not going to show us an instance of a placeholder for that live stream taking place. Now, if I go up here, I don't know how to get to people's live shows. I know I've seen people that are live show up here. But anyway, I was going to show her post because of this. Like, you got Kids Safe. I don't know how many people are paying attention to Kids Safe. I'm not sure what to make of Kids Safe yet. But they're definitely being ignored out there. But that's probably a factor of the situation with that particular project. But then you just see, my particular feed, whatever the hell number of people I subscribe to, does it tell me? I follow 850 something people. So my feed's going to be, unique and specific to the people I follow. But there's definitely a lot of noise there. And a lot of this stuff, like Maj does a lot of good, but he also makes a lot of noise on Instagram. So that's going to fade out. People that are doing stuff. Now, this guy, he makes a lot of noise on Instagram. I wouldn't say he's doing good. He's just selling his stuff all the damn time. She does stuff. She makes noise on Instagram. She doesn't really do nothing. She just makes noise. Same thing. Some of these people are doing stuff, some of them ain't. But the thing is, the people that are doing good, their voices are getting not quieter, but, they've got to compete because there's just so much other stuff out there. And that's not a good or bad. It's just a characteristic of the name of the game. Everybody was out in the street yelling. Everybody have to get good at yelling. Right. Well, so just trying to throw some ideas for topics out there. If it's just the three of us, and then Erstwhile could jump in and we could chat off air about the project that he's working on out there. Curious about that. I'm gonna have more time to be working on that stuff here before too long. Otherwise, it says we got people showing up. You can never tell by the YouTube numbers who's actually out there. There's some amount of lag or something. But again, this is a live conversation. We take the link over here, we drop it into the chat. You can click on that link and join in the live talk, or you could just click on stuff on the keyboard there and bring up messages. You guys got anything to talk about?
Was Erstwhile the one who made the aluminum grips that you showed off a week or so ago?
Yeah.
Those are pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how to do those justice. I could put them up there, but you two would bet on them, and that would be it. So I have to figure out what to do to put them somewhere where they actually get the attention they deserve, because he put a lot of effort into that.
I don't know if you put them on eBay and people looking for 1911 grips, so they should pop up and catch traction. I think
you'd think that, but I can't risk my account for grips because they're gun parts. I could put
Yeah.
it on gun bro. But on the eBay, I get busted on eBay, or I have been busted in the past. They harp on me for putting up bayonets because that's a gun part, even though there's other people that do it. So it's close enough that that's definitely close enough that I didn't feel comfortable putting them up there. I don't know what they do to retaliate, but I just don't want them turning off my account. I've had it since like '96. I like having it or something. I like having it. I have to get rid of my account.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I don't use mine too much anymore, but I still like having it for when I want to do, or when I do want to go find something on there.
But yeah, that's erstwhile. But we're working on another project. I think he's got some other things on his plate, but yeah.
I just sent you an email, like right before we started, of another pair of 1911 grips. So wanted your input on. Wasn't sure if you got that.
So made out of G10 or whatever. Well, I told you I'm not a big fan of putting my gun website's logo on anything. So I'm never going to be down with any color grip or any type of grip. If you insist on doing it, you're free to. It's free country, but I'm never going to be like, oh, now I like the idea. I don't like the idea of gun websites link on or logo on anything.
Oh, okay. I thought that was my misunderstanding. I thought you had thought I was just trying to make money with it or something for myself. So that's my fault.
I don't care about people making money, but no, I said you can have them because you're a friend of mine. You come on the show and help out, but no, I'm not interested in having anything with gun websites on it. No, that's
Okay,
for us. But yeah, you're us at this point. You've chatted on this thing more than some of the hosts have, so you can, if there was a host anymore, you could consider yourself one at this point. But feel free to do it. But like I say, I'm not. It's your project, so don't worry about what I think about it.
Yeah, no, like I said, I was just trying to think of a way to help generate some more activity at the store for you and stuff like that. It definitely doesn't have to be your logo or anything. Like I said, I that's on me because I misunderstood when we're talking offline that one night about it. So that, like I said, that's my bad. I'm sure I can come up with some other ideas.
Right on. Yeah, it's appreciate it. I was gonna say I got an email just now, and I looked to see yours from a guy who I guess Night Strike was on his chat, and then a guy in California has a gun shop was on his chat.
Was it Storm and Norman?
Yeah, he was on this guy's chat, but it was Top Cut 3 Gaming or something is the name of the channel. So some guy is doing interviews, so it looks like I'm gonna chat with that guy at some point.
Oh, cool. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that guy.
Some kind of new to podcasting younger guy, and did 3 hours with Night Strike. So it's telling right there that he's got some endurance. But I couldn't listen to 3 hours with Night Strike, but I did thumb through it. I kept jumping around in it, and they were chatting about all kinds of interesting shit. If I ever, have like a time when I'm working on something and I can hear, I've been working on things that are noisy, so I haven't really been able to listen to stuff, especially not 3 hours. But yeah, it was actually pretty good. And then he's chatted with Storm and Norman, and he's done other interviews and stuff, but those are the two people I heard of before. But yeah, this guy seemed like not a gun guy, but obviously with a channel like Top 3 Gaming, he's probably some kind of gamer or else into other things, but seemed like he's interested in doing a decent job of interviewing. But
I'll
anyway,
have to check that out.
You also have another email over there that I still haven't gotten back from the other thing. So you had I didn't bother to reply to your email because it's just a pain in the ass to try to say in an email when I could just tell you. But I was saying, you asked me if I sent you the picture, and I told you that I didn't bother because it was a mess. So I just took another picture of what was left and then sent it to you. But then I sent that to you right after you had said something else, so you didn't see it. And then time went by and I pulled stuff out of there. So then I replied to you or I followed up that email and said, here's what's missing from it. So that was the picture that I sent you, but now here's what's now missing from that picture because time has gone by and other orders have come in and stuff and sending stuff out. So then you replied back with something like, oh, I got all 3 of them tacos. And I don't think you got all 3 of them tacos. You got the 2 that you got. I'm just saying, I think we understood something. There was only 1 taco without lettuce. And you may have got that one. I don't remember who got it, but you said something like, oh, I got all the tacos without lettuce. And I just didn't even bother to reply because basically there's only 1 taco without lettuce. There was no way for you to get all of them because there was only 1. But, and I don't remember who actually got it. That was a lot of tacos.
I think that was actually me then because I obviously I couldn't tell whether they had lettuce or not. I think DJ was the one that pointed that out. So I thought it was just all the ones with the black background. But then when I had picked that one with the black background and yellow border, you said the one without lettuce. And I was like, I guess. But so I was thinking that it was all 3 of them that didn't have lettuce. But I say, either way, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, at this point, I already sent yours out minus whatever because I was sick of waiting for you to reply, and I figured there's no point, right? So I'm already sending other stuff out, so it's already gone. If you ever order anything again, I'll just throw some other ones in there. Eh?
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm not too worried about it, and that email didn't pop up forever. I don't know why.
Oh well, it could be maybe. Well, I don't know. I would say because there's an attachment, but that doesn't make no sense. And then there can't make no sense on the internet that there's more emails going back and forth. So yeah, there's no excuse for that. Corn and cattle, huh? I never heard of that one before.
Yeah.
Heard of that?
Of course, those are my buddies.
What?
Those are my buddies. Corn and cattle. Rockin' M Double C Ranch. Yeah. Corn, cattle. It should be Mike.
All right. And he said tacos. Is that a place?
Yeah. Mike's been all over the country. Not sure what he might mean. But I'm glad that he's here. That's freaking cool.
All right, so did anybody watch Clover's chat earlier?
No.
All right. Well, we'll just say Clover's chat was wrong. And then we'll move on, I guess. And then let's see, Yankee had a chat at the same time where he was talking to some guy who was from China. And Yankee's wrong. So I don't know if anybody watched Yankee's chat, but he's wrong.
No. Jason Stewart had a chat at the same time as Clover and Yankee, and I was on that one, so I still need to go back and watch.
Jason Stewart had a chat.
Yep. Yeah, he does one every Thursday night.
When did that start happening?
It's been going on a while now. I told you about it was a month, October maybe. I told you about it after the first one. Because it was actually the first one was an awesome chat. It was like 3 hours long, but we touched base on a lot of gun stuff, a lot of stuff like gardening and things like that. Really neat chat. But recently, it's been a lot of the same old politics and what to fear and what not to fear stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was subbed to his channel, but I guess I'm not. I think that dude also, I sent it, I don't know. There's a couple, I'm dyslexic, so there's a couple of people that got similar names that I could easily be mixing up. But I think I was waiting for him to tell me which Wolverines. Didn't him and you or somebody bought something on Cyber Monday or whatever the hell Friday was supposed to be called. And I've been waiting all 3 days for a reply. So I ended up just grabbing some random ones and sending them to him. So I threw the link back out there. Yeah, Clover wasn't wrong specifically, but he misunderstood everything I was saying, definitely. So then we got White Mac white cheddar mac and cheese. White cheddar mac and cheese is peak Western civilization. I hear you. I'm not into white cheddar, so I understand what people are saying, but that's too white creamy for me or whatever. Like I like a sharp yellow cheddar, so I wouldn't be down for a white cheddar. You guys down for a white cheddar mac and cheese?
I'm down for mac and cheese in general.
I quite liking it. I think it's does Rick hate it? I'm not quite to Rick's level, but I'm not jumping on no mac and cheese. I've had so much bad mac and cheese. I mean, I eat buffet mac and cheese. It's not like I go around ordering mac and cheese anymore. So the only time I ever eat mac and cheese, it's gonna be questionable anyway. But I've got so much bad mac and cheese. I'm what's that word? Like gun shy to it or something. Like I don't just run to mac and cheese. It has to prove itself to be decent, and then I still don't even always like it. It's kind of like pizza too, right? Some people like some weird mac and cheese, in my opinion.
There's people that like mac and cheese on their pizza.
Oh, I've had that one time, and I think that's unnecessary. I'm gonna leave it there. It's unnecessary. I don't know if I had it any good. I mean, there might be better ways to do it. I had it at some cheap bar trying to act, desperately trying to be cool or whatever. It tasted like it, just all salty. I can't find Jason Stewart's channel. What's up with that? Isn't this just Jason Stewart?
Yeah, it's tough to find though. Punch in Thursday with Jay. That might give you a little bit better luck.
We could just link me to it, and that would be easier. But yeah, that's one of the other reasons I wouldn't be eating no mac and cheese anymore. I don't like macaroni. I can't. I'd pass out. I ate a bunch of macaroni. He's live right now. He's corking me right now.
But the issue is, I needed something as a base because
I jumped out of there to come here. I'm surprised they're still going. He said he was going to shut it down at like 10:30.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to jump in.
See, I jumped out and then Night Strike jumped in. Night Strike scared me. I'll tell him that next time I'm on a chat with him.
Anyway, so Clover was saying that he's wrong or whatever. I was saying that, let's see. I put in a comment earlier about reacting versus, or drifting, reacting versus deliberate steps towards a goal, and then that changing the path as opposed to being at the whim of manipulators. Since we've been at this for a while, new platforms, not platforms, but new methods of transmission, right? Once the newspaper was established, once periodicals were established, I don't know which came first, once books and publishing, attained different levels of self-publishing. I'm sure when the microprocessor came out, self-publishing, hit some other level. There's these different things, like once binding was affordable at a like amateur level. All these things can influence when you've got radio going out there and television and then cable. All these things allow different abilities, different voices to get out there, usually more voices to get out there. And we've had conversations on all that before, and that was more of my question, was in the grander scheme of things. If people simply follow what others have done and do something similar, or see what people have done and amplify the pieces that, do whatever their goal is, let's say make more money or keep people around longer, or, whatever, grow faster, whatever the variable is you're trying to tweak, right? If they just always do the same thing, then we become a train, then we become ingrained on a path, and that gives us what makes us vulnerable, and it gives us less interesting. It makes us less interesting. And my follow-up to that later was that something I keep bringing up in this conversation in the late night for the advanced class is when our people who are, the army, the people that are Second Amendment, the lobby, the individuals who understand, cherish, respect the obligation, responsibility, and benefits of an individual right to be keeping and bear arms protected by a Second Amendment. When those people get woke, when their light goes off and they become active, for whatever reason, it happens differently for everybody, just like puberty and just like, taste for coffee or something. Like, everybody gets hit in a different level in a different time and in their own way, and everybody's special. But basically they come to the playing field, they come up to the bar. I've used this analogy before, and they have to take a look around, and it's their peer group that influences their interest level. And if everything there is following some mule train, and every mule on the train is just trying to be a fancier mule or a groovier dance, or another incarnation of the same old, then again, we're vulnerable and we're not appealing to the people who are whatever, the people that are not interested in just jumping onto some boring, slow moving train that could be pushed over or let off course or whatever other, fragile thing that can happen to that situation. So that's my question. It's hard to bring up, obviously, in the 200 characters you get in each text, along with all the other text going by. But you did a pretty good job of understanding what I was trying to say, and then tying that into the conversation with other people and all the other stuff you were trying to bring up. But for the advanced class, like I say, I think that we run the risk if we amplify what's already been done. Because in my opinion, what's already being done is just versions of what's already been done in previous platforms. And I don't mean YouTube. I mean, before the internet, there was magazines, and these YouTube channels are just emulating magazines, or the cable channels, which are emulating magazines. That same, here's a presentation, and here's a quick summary, and here's the black and white, and you've gotten an expert review now. And that lends to turn off and on. Everything's black and white, right or wrong. You either agree or you don't. It's inconsequential, or it is. And there's nuance. And I don't think we bring people on board and we evolve if we keep going down to that base level, interesting or not. It's just a hobby. Pay attention to this because of the dance or the music. All right, well, so Clover's not going to jump in. Even after being taunted and ridiculed, your macaroni friend ain't going to jump in. But welcome to jumping in and see what we do here. We always mope and threaten and whine, and I now argue at the beginning of the show to try to get people riled up and join into the conversation. And then if it doesn't happen in the first 20, 30 minutes, we end it. So are we at risk of ending it tonight? I was working on stuff and watching James Bond movies, which are free on YouTube.
All right. Well, a little bit about KidSafe. Their website says, about us, an empowered child grows up to be a powerful, healthy adult. The only efficient way to stop cycles of abuse, teach resiliency to kids with adverse childhood experiences, and protect children from trafficking is through prevention education. KidSafe has been teaching children and their grown-ups personal safety skills for over 10 years. Together, let's give children the tools they need to stay safe and parents the help they need to protect them. Their mission, and I'm reading the truncated versions, the KidSafe mission is to teach personal safety to children and their grown-ups to build strong, resilient families and safer communities. They have a blog, and then there's a QAnon statement from KidSafe. And so I'll go back up now and maybe punch into one of those bigger descriptions under the About Us. We'll see what they might have. Their vision is for all children and families to live in a society where children are protected from child sexual abuse and childhood trauma. KidSafe has been educating children, families, and child-serving professionals since 2009. In 10 years, we have taught over 60,000 children that they have the right to be safe, and taught over 35,000 adults that they are the first line of defense for children. Why KidSafe? Emotional and mental health problems are often the first consequence and sign of childhood sexual abuse.
All right. So KidSafe is this guy that's in Oregon, and you're reading, I guess, their website stuff.
Yep.
My issues are that it's about more than Eddie Eagle stuff. It's all that other stuff you just said.
Yep.
And that's great if your parents are going to be down with you being a Marine or something, or if they understand or they have a similar point of view as that. But if they don't, then they don't. And I don't know enough to I don't know enough to know one way or the other if that pill is going to be difficult to swallow or not for parents. So that's what I'm suggesting. I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't think there is going to be one thing that fits all, but I'm just saying it'll be interesting to see over time how successful it is with that focus. Because Eddie Eagle's focus is, oh, there's a gun, run away. That's it. I think. I mean, tell an adult run away or something like that. It isn't like, oh, here's a gun and here's how you figure it out, and here's how to shoot it, defend yourself, be aware of your situation, like all that kind of stuff is getting into like beyond orientation and familiarization and into tactical theory and self-defense and awareness. And that takes it from let's go to the fire department and look at fire trucks into let's go take a taekwondo class and you fight somebody who punches you in the schoolyard or whatever. And there's people that don't want to teach their kids that. And if that's the case, is that going to be met with black or white? No. Like, because it doesn't do everything I want, none of it's okay.
Barbecue, you got kids.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just saying that's an issue of it. I don't know if Eddie the Eagle wasn't perfect and it only did what it did, right? It had NRA behind it. Is there a different element of it because it's just this one guy? And that's another thing. If it's just some guy doing stuff, that's a lot different than, an organization of, 1,200 school teachers across 13 states that came together and created a curriculum to do something. You know what I mean? It's just different. So, problem is, I think he's pretty much on his own. He gets some, high fives from people and stuff, but I think he's got maybe some industry support. He doesn't have the 1,200 teachers doing any kind of like, let's get this into a 3-ring binder and bring it into schools or something. No, we got dead air. So, any other topics for tonight or anything else from KidSafe?
Travel Thursday, we were talking about reciprocity maps and the like. What do you think about doing a live run? A live run at doing a comparison contrast to see which one might be better, which one might be the one to absolutely avoid.
What do you mean? What one of what?
The one reciprocity map or app that might be the most useful or accurate, and then by contrast, the one that's the worst, not updated, not accurate, etc.
If you got something in mind, go ahead. But I've never used
No,
it.
I figured the first four Google results or Play Store apps or whatever else might give us an indication.
No, that's something. I mean, I know there's been apps for a while. I don't know where apps are in the big scheme of things because I haven't been in that realm, in that world. But I think I started seeing apps in 12. There was already an app for sure. I know we were trying to use one. The problem was it was the way apps were back then. Well, I'm sure they're still that way. Some mechanism has to be made for it to be updated, like we just said with all that reciprocity stuff. So, the apps are going to either be bunch of individuals with good intentions, or they're going to be some company with aspirations of making some kind of money on an app like that, or maybe an organization who thinks they can devote some resources to something like that as a feature or benefit of their organization or their whatever their fees or something. But yeah, I haven't seen any of them to see. I'm guessing they're going to be a version of all that, but I'm wondering. I don't think I've ever seen anything that tries to incorporate or include or tally all the apps other than just link farm stuff. I've never seen anything that tried to do what you just said, compare and contrast, and even, what's the word, like archive them all. I'm wondering, again, from my experience with apps, those are kind of ways that they're invented, right? Somebody with a good idea or like aspirations to offer a good service or something, and then goes out and tries to create it, but has no experience. Or somebody who knows how to build the thing, thinks, oh, here's a hole, I can make some money or whatever, fill in that hole. Or some organization, like I said, has some great idea and usually poorly executes, some effort to do whatever it is. And, like anything with a committee or whatever, it's usually some crappy version of it. But I don't think I've heard anybody, except for occasionally in a conversation, people allude to them. Never heard anybody champion one. None of them must be making enough money to get some celebrity to back them. I don't think there's any coffee company that has an app or anything like that. Does USCCA have one, or GOA, or
Yeah.
anybody?
Yeah, I was going to say the only one I would really put any stake in would be USCCA, and that's because they've got a lot of liability there if they were to have that wrong. As far as all the other ones go, it's going to take a lot of homework, contacting each state, compiling everything to see, what apps and
You'd have to almost do it daily,
else.
because you can't ever know from 50 states and all the different variables. You could never know that you'd be alerted, right? You'd have to constantly be checking, like almost every day. Has anything changed? Has anything changed?
Exactly. I say it'd be such a massive undertaking, but I'm just thinking, like with what DJ's talking about, if you're gonna try and look up, the top 5 or 10 or whatever apps for reciprocity maps and whatnot, it would still take a massive research base to see which ones are the most accurate, which ones haven't been updated in 10 years, and everything else. Like I said, if anything, I would just trust USCCA more than anything, just because with everything they're doing, if they put out some wrong information in that regards, it's going to be a massive liability.
Right, so I just came up with an app. Looks like out here complaining about how he's got to make so much money before he can come in here and do 2A or whatever. I was thinking what we need is a phone app so we can rank just how 2A people are, right? So somebody will come up on the phone app, and then you'll give it like a pro 2A or a down 2A, like a up 2A or a down 2A. And it'll be like a 2A ranker. And then that way we'll know right off the bat. None of this once a year or we act like we're voting, just constantly. So that way somebody could say something in a chat, bloop, 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 they go up in 2A. And then they say something else, bloop, 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 they go down in 2A. 100%, whatever you call that, community, I don't know what the word is, not 100% community based, I guess. Grassroots, is that grassroots?
Mm-hmm.
Now Clover comes in, she's going to steal my idea. I like this idea of the 2A ranker. Just everybody, and then that way we could put filters on our chats. Like you got to be this level of 2A to be able to even get in here.
Oh, well, now I'll just go ahead and leave right now then.
Link, 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 link. Do, 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 do. By joining the chat, you get more 2A points. So that's even better. It's like being whatever the equivalent of being rich is, except for 2A. Like once you're already 2A, by joining 2A chats, you become even more 2A. anyway, so I don't know if you heard what I was saying there, but that's all I was trying to get at is my fear is that if we just all emulate the same thing, then one of my things has always been that we fall for ambushes all the time. We're just too consistent or whatever. We do things in the same way. So that's where my concern was. If we all just do the same thing, let's say everybody does something on YouTube, because why wouldn't you? And then they do one of their deals, which they've done every once in a while, pull the reins back, do something weird, mixes with everybody. And it just gives too much influence, too much power over us to the others, whoever they happen to be or what. And I guess that's what I was trying to get at, just kind of keep that idea out there.
Where is the notion that we're all doing the same thing? That's what I'm wondering. Where's that coming from?
Oh, because most of the time people are up there like, oh, and here's gear, and here's what I think about it, and here's this, and we're all just talking about stuff. Like nobody really in the mainstream like ever strays from the here's gear and we're talking about it, or here's something that we're shooting at, or here's some ammo and we're comparing it, or I mean, aside from that, or whatever, pick the recipe. There's a couple of 3 or 4 recipes, and like I say, we just and then I guess my other thing wasn't that we're necessarily going to have somebody throw a spoke on or stick in our spokes, but thinking about the people who come and go because they're just not interested in what it is. If we don't change what it is once in a while, if we're just constantly honing it, right, or the realms of it, the versions of it or the flavors of it, then those people that aren't looking for something that they're not getting don't see anything new evolving, so they rarely come back. I guess I'm talking to generalities, but I don't know if that gets my point across or not. But yeah, I mean, I don't mean everybody's doing like the exact same thing. I just mean we're all kind of walking in the same direction, or a lot of channels seem to be walking in the same direction. Shit, look at that thing I just posted. I don't know if you saw the beginning of the chat. Is there any way I can bring that back? I forgot. I guess I go in my history. I was showing some video review because the chat's kind of always dead in the beginning. It's just me and DJ and barbecue. I hate to make them like come in and start dancing as soon as the show starts. So I played this video from back in the day. It's from September of 2009. And I mean, except for the gun being old and the crappy, video production, it's just a desktop review, like a billion other ones have been. It's like literally like, here's the gun, here's how it is compared to the size of these. And I mean, I'm not saying it's not interesting. Obviously, it's got 100,000, 300,000 views or something. But it's this, 2009, and that's a long time ago, and it's very similar path that we're still on. And I don't know if other video creators have in other realms, like are they developing? I don't know. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to see some of the people who have come and gone stick around because there's more that suits their flavor or suits their tastes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's enough out there for all different kinds. We were having some discussion in the after chat, and Paul Harrell come up, and I was like, I love Paul Harrell and stuff, but he's got some of the lowest production value for his size and his following and everything. It's crazy.
I don't really ever watch that guy. I know who you're talking about. He's just some guy in Oregon who just started doing stuff, I guess, because he felt like it or because he was dissatisfied. Do you know why he started doing it? Because he started way later than anybody else.
Mm-mm.
He never talks about it. He doesn't do like
no.
He doesn't do like interviews or sit in with people or right, like do what do you call them, meet and greets or any of that kind of shit.
He's talked about some meet and greets before on his channel, but they're like in his area and stuff,
And then he doesn't do like the let's go to my birthday party and everybody hangs out.
Right.
Yeah, so then you probably don't know what his deal is, why he would start or what, but so that's weird. How come barbecue can jump out and get back in? I didn't let him in. He just like disconnected or something and then was back in without me having to, say add the channel or whatever you do. Interesting. Anyway, so I wonder if that guy. Yeah, so maybe he isn't here. Maybe that's just a ghost bounced back in, or the echo bounced back in, because he's not unmuted either. He disconnects once in a while, so that could just be the echo bounced back in somehow. It's Canadian; they don't know what they're doing. As I guess I'm wondering if he decided to do a channel like that just because he's like, oh, you know what, I can do this for half the money and make just as much, because there's no change. Like you just said before, were you the one saying there's no way that these channels aren't making a ton of money? Somebody was saying that. And with all that political, whatever, advertising that just happened, like everybody had to be making a lot more than normal, right? So however long that guy's been
Right.
on the scene, he's got to be making super bank. I can't even imagine how much money
He's
that
got
guy.
he's got Patreon too. I don't know how big it is, but
Oh yeah, see what I'm saying? And with all the people that are on that guy's sack, like I'm sure he's making a bunch of Patreon contributions and whatnot. So he's doing his thing because it's lucrative, right? And he's doing it at the way he's doing it. I'm assuming. You guys can tell me. I've never watched his shit. He's not doing it to like be stick or whatever. Like he's just doing it to be like, you don't need, this is the way I'm doing it. You don't need to do,
right.
a bunch of fades, and what I'm guessing is what you're talking about, and all the fancy shit and all the fancy cameras and all that crap.
Well, and it's like like wind noise. Like he don't care if there's too much wind noise, or if rain. You know how rain is horrible in a microphone, right? When it's falling on stuff, rain, wind noise. He don't care, and you can barely hear him sometimes in some of his videos over that. And then sometimes he'll shoot something, or maybe it's raining, or he shoots like a 2-liter jug of something, and it splashes on the camera. And he don't even bother to wipe the camera lens off. He just keeps shooting with like wet stuff on the camera, and it's like he don't. It's like he don't care.
Yeah. I mean, he makes a preemptive warning, that, it's wind in the background, there's range noise kind of thing. But otherwise, he's one man in the woods, one camera, one take, and he does okay. I mean, it's pretty dry most of the time, but he's ex-military instructor, so it's going to be a little bit dry. He doesn't have a great sense of self-deprecating humor, but he does interject a little bit. Dude lives alone, most likely, from what I've gathered, and he's out there to make friends and hang out in his posts.
Oh, Gary said he has 2021 Patreons, and he hasn't made a post since February of 2018.
No, that's inaccurate. He did a Thanksgiving thing just this year, like last week.
Holy shit, 2,000 Patreons? You have any idea how much money that is?
They're talking about on Patreon, DJ.
Oh, my bad.
Have any idea how much money 2,000 Patreons is?
It's at least 2,000 whatever, but it's probably more upwards of 10 grand a month.
Yeah, the average is 4. So, and that's the average. So that's like all the dudes. Well, all the dudes that are boring like me, who don't make anywhere near the 4, and then, well, actually, wait a minute. I'm high average. So somebody that's just there. Like there are definitely a lot of people there that are taking the average down. Is all I'm saying, because the average is the middle. So there's a lot of zeros. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of. Anyway, so there's a reason why, if it's working for him, he's going to keep working. I haven't seen any of his videos, so I can't. Does he do anything?
Another thing is that his video length.
Has he ever brought up anything 2A?
Nope. Well,
not that I can recall.
Gary's out there. Gary's probably his biggest fan. So, but not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay. So then it gets to like, whatever. That's probably why I don't watch his shit. Like if somebody's not helping, then I don't have a problem with them. But if they're not helping, then he ain't helping. Like I don't care if you want to make a really nice juggling act while the boat's being bailed out, but I'd rather talk to the people bailing. Somebody's got to entertain the kids and the women that aren't bailing, but I'm down for like figure out how to better bail or figure out a way we can create a pump. I don't care about whatever. Where'd we get off on all that anyway? I'm not here to rag on some guy I never even fucking heard of before.
Just talking about
No.
changing it up, and was talking
Well, you
about
guys were
promoting.
talking about
Didn't have to
off air, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and things have been, well, I don't know. Have things been changed up? I don't know. It's hard to tell because show of hands, who's been around YouTube since, like Gary said that he's been around since 2012. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess, I don't have the same perception on YouTube, I guess, because I've been around for a little while, and I think of YouTube when the gun community came together,
Mhm.
and then like I think that is my whatever fulcrum, and then everything was before after that, and that was sort of Sandy Hook ish, right? The executive orders, like right around there, is when it was all coming together and had a reason to come together and then accomplish something maybe, and then fell apart after. So the people that came around after and haven't, I mean, when somebody comes around before anything happens, can they be like looked at and like, oh, okay, whatever, like you didn't know. Like, but when something happened and then you come around after and you're oblivious, I guess you're allowed to not know. Like you don't have to know everything that's always happened. But how many times are we gonna go through similar situations and then watch the people who are just getting huge and giant do nothing about it over and over and over? That's frustrating. I don't know, but they don't have any obligation to do shit either. But Gary's not telling us, so he doesn't know. But anyway, so I guess it all depends on is 8 years a long time to be on YouTube? I guess it is.
I don't know. I've been on here, what, 5? I mean, this
It's
channel.
a long time. I mean, shit. That's a kid growing up and being 8. That's like 2 whole things of high school. I mean, that's like more than going to college and being a doctor, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
I think my account says that I created it in 2010, but I didn't really start actively watching stuff consistently on YouTube until 2013 or 2014.
I mean, I probably would have left YouTube in 13 or 14 for something else except for the live. The live was useful and fun, and we had a whole nother thing happen. So I did, I guess I sort of built gun channels, right? I did leave YouTube in 2014, and we used it. It was a tool. But yeah, for that 7 years, gun channels was the platform that tried to give us a different place that was an alternative. Unfortunately, it was yet another platform, and it has the same vulnerabilities as anything does when it's individually funded or whatever you want to call it, like individually created. But well, you know me. I'm looking forward to the time when everyone gives up on the socials as their whatever islands or whatever I think of it as like stepping stones in the internet, right? They're afraid to get wet. They keep standing on these stepping stones and everybody's hovering on top of Facebook, and somehow they're doing this great pyramid thing like a bunch of cheerleaders, right? They're all hovering on top of Facebook. Nobody's getting wet, but it's getting really difficult to not get wet over there. At some point they're going to figure out they can just swim, hopefully, right? So I don't know, unless somebody's got a topic, we've gone all over the place. We kind of touched on apps there for a second. Or I did kind of. And I think that was before Clover jumped in, right? We were talking about the CCW apps, and DJ was saying, what if we tried to compare the ones that are, CCW apps that might help with reciprocity for when you're traveling or whatever. And that got me to thinking that there's been a bunch of them, and I've never heard of any kind of, let's say AmCon, or let's say the Gun Rights Policy Conference, for lack of a better word, just because we know what those are, for app people or for people in the gun community that are doing stuff from the app version. Am I missing something? Have you heard of anything like that?
Not at all.
Now, do you think there's enough apps that's a thing that could even be? Like, are there enough, or are they? I think what I was saying, I don't know if you heard me, that I think apps probably come from individuals that have a great idea and then try to make it happen, but they're not professionals, so it's always going to be a risk. And then you've got people who do know how to make apps and see holes and gaps and things and decide, this is where I can use my app skills to fill this gap or this hole, but they might not be passionate about the subject. And then you've got organizations who have all these great ideas and maybe even the resources, but because it's a committee, it fails, right? Because I've never seen a good app. I mean, I'm trying to think of a good app. There's been efforts, just like a website. They can be good for a minute, and I have 300 of them. I'm not saying mine are good. Like, they can be good for a minute, but websites are temporary and they're good for a while, and then they get old and then they're not good. So sometimes apps are good, sometimes stuff is good. I can't think of any app that's always been good, except from maybe some banks and eBay and like giant things that have massive resources. So gun apps, is that a potential future off of platforms, or is that too big a subject for the moment?
Depends on what it is, because Apple has policies against that. I ran
Oh,
into
okay, I get
that.
what you're saying.
And I don't know if Google does now. I know back in the day when I was developing the apps for the website, social media platform I was doing, that Google was fine. Didn't have an issue there. But Apple, there was a lot of hoops. Had to jump
No,
through
that's
for Apple.
true. Now, that's if you want to have your thing so that I'm going to just say dummies on Apple, because you don't have to be a dummy and own an, or you don't have to be a dummy if you own an Apple. But if you're a dummy, then you probably got told to buy an Apple and you don't know nothing because you bought an Apple and you just use all the dummy features of an Apple.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm talking about. So the people that need to go to iTunes to get their apps, yeah, they're going to miss it. But even if you have an iPhone, you can still go to a website that doesn't have an official iPhone app and still get an app, right? Like, you don't have to use their iPhone app, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then that might be screwed. You're right. If they have some kind of policy thing. But I know that we've seen the CCW apps, and I don't know what they're. I like I say, I don't know enough about them. I'm assuming they're on iPhone, but I don't know. But I guess that could be an issue if literally half of the devices wouldn't be able to accept an app that you make. Because you're saying basically you'd have to make it in some kind of code that iPhone listens to, and they won't accept anything to get their code unless it gets into the store. And if they won't accept it in the store, you can never start the whole process.
You have to submit it to them.
Yeah.
And
So if they won't
you
ever
can't
take
even
it,
get into that. You can't even hardly get into that, the process to even get it submitted.
yeah. And I've
But
dealt with
like I
that a
said,
little bit with podcasts, and yeah, it's a kind of a pain, and that's stuff that sucks. But so that would definitely be, you're right. That would definitely be a thing. But what about aside from that? Like, if we're wrong how somehow, or if the app wasn't, didn't trigger something and it worked, do you think that apps are a way that we could, as gun community or whatever, get off of platforms? I don't know if we talked about this before.
Yes, I do believe.
I think so. I don't know what would that app look like. I mean, what would we be wanting to do with that app?
I've got three in mind, but I'm not going to say them on air. But let's say that they were, either fostered community or collaboration or awareness, really, because I mean, what else matters? Maybe
Right.
those things, the things that the socials provide. And the thing is, I'm saying theoretically here because I don't know enough about apps. I do know about websites, and it's easy to build a website. It's more difficult to build a good or useful website, and it's extremely expensive to build a huge anything, like everything, right? Anything that you build huge is going to be more expensive. So
Right.
an app might be possible and it might be theoretically useful, but practically, or can it actually be done? And is it possible to get computers to do it that aren't, because you got an app, great, that's your interface, but where does that app live? It lives on some database and some giant computer somewhere. And if that company says, no, we don't like guns, it's the same thing as Clover was saying with Apple, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, fuck Apple and fuck iPhones. You can go to Google Play. You can go to Android, app, whatever. USCCA is a pretty small file to download for that app, and there are some others. And what I've been doing while you guys were talking was I bounce back and forth between the USCCA website and a couple of the different phone apps. And UCCA is solid. It doesn't say how often they update, but there are just pages and pages and pages here.
Are you
Within.
in here?
Yeah.
Are you in barbecue? Now, is that app a version of the website? Is it just an interface to show, like, to frame their website in a phone's dimension?
It's essentially the same as the website.
Because if an app is a different thing to everybody, and if your app is a way to reframe and image your website into someone's phone, then that wouldn't be that difficult, honestly, because you're updating your website anyway, ideally. So when your website's updated, by default, your app would be updated. But there are people that aren't going to consider that an app, and they're going to put up their nose, and depends on how sophisticated your palette is, I guess, on tech and phone interfaces. I mean, again, like Clover's saying, if it won't be in an Apple, then there's a whole bunch of people that either intentionally or just because they like other features of Apple, like, have limited themselves.
Yeah, their mistake.
No, that's great, but I mean, you don't know what you don't know is a problem.
No,
It's not
exactly.
like
You can't just
Apple,
be
not
like,
like Apple has a banner that comes up on their device every 30 minutes and says, "Hey, we're anti-gun. We don't let."
yeah, remember,
you know,
you're not seeing things that exist, and you can't just be like, well, you
Yeah.
can, but if you're just like, screw Apple, then what I'm saying, then that's basically just excluding a bunch of people, and it's cars, it's not conducive to getting at the point, right? Which is awareness and communication. But it could also just, I don't know, maybe there's a way to do it as a website, like I was saying, and just use the concept of app. See, that's the other thing, is everybody's concept of what these words mean. Look how hashtag, holy crap, think about hashtag and how annoying and difficult that's been over just the last 3 years. Like, I don't even know, was the hashtag a word before that? It had to be, but it wasn't used in any way at all, hardly. So in the last 3 years, I can just flashing back kind of dramatically almost to some of the chats with Clover and some of the, well, let's just say, older members of the community who are jumping online and trying to fathom, because they're probably expecting it to be, I don't know, like something easier to deal with, like Dewey Decimal or something, that's kind of all built on itself. Like, hashtags were a happenstance of 6 different platforms smashing into each other, and like certain elements living, and weird stuff. So anyway, trying to get what an app is across to somebody, what my parents would think an app is versus what somebody's grandkids would think an app is. I'm guessing some people are going to scratch their head and other people are going to turn up their nose, right? And maybe some of us, and that's my problem, I think, is as a tech person, as long as I can make it accomplish, like, I'm satisfied. I don't need it to have the right tint of yellow or the perfect curves on the corners. It just needs to work. And some people can't deal with that.
Right. Well, you're going to have to. The problem is you're going to have to have a certain number of people. Was it the law of? I don't even remember it. Golly.
The bell curve thing.
I'll have to look it up, but yeah, it's a bell curve thing. We talked law of diffusion of innovation or something like that.
Right.
But you're going to have to have in any venture, you're going to have so many people up front. And those people is what kind of kicks the waves to get you to the top of the bell curve. Right. And those people, it's good. It's a combination of, it being attractive and then selling it in a way. Right.
Hitting. Right.
Right. And
now,
so where you and I don't care, and where the vast majority of people that actually adopt said product or platform, the vast majority probably don't care whether it's yellow or blue or whatever, right? But they're a different demographic than those early adopters. So that has to be taken into consideration.
Oh, and it has to be comfortable. So that's where, if it's not the right color blue, that pill won't go down. And that's where they're just a little uncomfortable. And because of that, nobody uses it on the 3rd day. And because of that, it failed. That's the kind of shit.
Right.
So do you guys know what Clover's talking about there with that bell curve, where the early adopters use it, and then what is it? The innovators use it, or I forget the words for everything, but the first people use it or cut and ground. The people are like, hey, I'm going to try to do everything that's interesting, but not quite everything. I'm not going to risk too much. Then those people try it. And when those people try it, like, all their friends go, oh, snap, these guys did it. And they always pick the winners. Let's go do it. And then a swell of people do it. Like, let's say it's phones, right? And then you get grandpa who's like, damn it, now I got to get a cell phone because everybody else in the family has one, right?
Well, you get the swell, and then as the bill comes back down, you get the people that are pressured into buying it.
Yeah, like
And then
they
at
have
the
to,
bottom of the bill on the other end is there's no longer peer pressure to buy it. The people at the bottom on the opposite end, they have no choice. Nothing else exists, basically.
So you guys get that concept? You've seen that or heard that concept before?
Yeah.
So then my question to all of you is, and whoever's still paying attention out there, because this is a conversation, not just an entertainment thing. We're using the internet here. Is that concept, is that like paradigm, I guess, is that going to change from our grandparents who were to our grandkids who are next? You know what I mean? Like something's going to change there. Is it going to like make it into a teardrop shape? Is it going to turn it into a shark fin? Like, I mean, is it going to change? Because I suspect that at least for tech stuff, little kids just are going to zip along to where our grandparents had to be kicked and screamed, dragged, kicking and screaming.
Well, it doesn't have to change because you hit on the point. The people in those demographics are changing. So the bail itself does not have to change.
Is that what happens like over time? Because I haven't really, I've heard of the concept, but I've never been in like a class where they looked at it over time, for example.
People far smarter than me would, I'm sure, argue with what I've read and watched on the subject, would certainly argue with you that bail is consistent. Otherwise, they wouldn't talk about it. But they would also admit that like I said, the early adopters being the hipsters on one thing might be the youth on something else. So those demographics within that curve are going to fluctuate depending on society and a lot of other factors. So that's where your change is going to come.
Gotcha. In other words, like you can't, well, and it's another thing is you can't get everybody through a door. So somebody's got to be the first person through the door and somebody's got to be the last person through the door.
Well, it's why they call it a law. So I mean, it's kind of like gravity, right? It's like something heavier is going to fall faster, or you know what I mean, or whatever.
Right. All falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know where to go from there. So, like I say, I tried to mock or get people to be part of the chat out there. Do you guys have any other topics? You just had an interesting one again tonight. And then you were having an off-air chat, and then it sounds like you're cleaning something up, maybe doing the details of the description or something after. So have you ever sat down after a Thursday chat and just took like a breath or smoke a pipe or whatever and thought about like an after action of that chat? Like, was that a good chat? Was it a good topic? You're going to do it again? Is there like a to be continued out of it? Anything?
Not so much. I mean, in what are you talking about? I mean, do a follow-up live stream or
nothing? I just thought about it that I'd never really done anything exactly like what you're doing on Thursdays. And I'm guessing that because you're doing it in the evening and because you got other things going on in the world that, like I say, you probably get done with it. It ends not abruptly, but it ends. And then at the end of it all, you still have a couple of tasks. And then when you're all done, you're probably 4 hours into it, maybe. So you're probably like, I'm out of here. As opposed to like, now let me quietly reflect on the 4 hours I just spent bringing people from not just across the country, but across age, area of interest, and all of their audiences who are going to be influenced by what you talked about tonight. And you think about all that, and like I've been asking, am I just following the direction of like whatever Budget Guns and Gear says on Friday? Or am I, bouncing along whatever Ghost does on Tuesday every other week? Or do you have a goal where this was another step, or this was a step backwards towards that goal, and now I have to take 2 steps next week? That's a lot, but that's more of the gist of the question, big picture. Do you ever get a chance to think about your project?
Yeah, I mean, one week almost always plays into another week, and the reason that it does that is because I'm constantly, I spend as much or more time on the nuts and bolts of all this than I do actually working on my channel and producing content. If I quit Thursday and I quit helping people and said, screw everybody, I'm just going to cut videos, there's no doubt I could be a much larger channel and get all kinds of free stuff and make all kinds of money. Right. But because when I hear you say after action, it's laughable in a way, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's laughable in a way because like I don't ever stop. So you mean after action? I mean, it's like tomorrow somebody will email me. They'll have a question. There'll be some uh, creator conference or chat or something that I need to go brush up on, catch up on, moderate, whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm always doing something. And so it's a compounding effort because we'll go through something tonight and then something will get brought up, no doubt, in the next few days, whether somebody emailing and asking a question or whatever the case may be. That'll kind of provoke the next topic and it'll move on and move on. Really, the only time we deviate from that, tonight we deviated from that, honestly, because I wanted to see if anybody out there had questions that we weren't covering, because a lot of times people they'll have a question, but they're, well, the thing is it's what the only question that's stupid is the one that's not asked or whatever, right? But people don't feel that way. They feel stupid if they ask certain questions. And so I wanted to do one.
Or when you had a topic like we're going to be talking about like pineapples, they're like, well, I shouldn't ask about cantaloupes this week.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, when we're doing other things, even though we will stop the flow of the show for off subject questions that have to do with tech and things like that anyway. We're not going to stop to talk about an EDC, gun or, ammo or something, because that's not the point of the, of the, of the flow of the show. But yeah, if it's tech related, many times we've done that, and it's drawn the shows out, extra time. But where was I going with that? I don't remember where I was
The
going.
idea that I was asking about the after action, and
Yeah.
then just that you're going all the time. So my thing was, and I guess you were saying, that there's always like a follow up the next day or somebody's asking, and then that kind of leads into the next. That's the thing, is that if we constantly just go with the flow or whatever you want to call that, like continue to roll with the punches or continue to, stand and persevere, however you want to interpret that. What we don't get to do is decide I'm on my way over there. It's I guess maybe another way to look at it is that, and this is this is maybe not the best analogy, but the this Churchill quote I keep seeing: you can't get where you're going if you stop and throw a rock at every dog that barks on the way. So if you address everything, if you follow everything out, then yeah, you're tying yourself down. And I'm not saying to ignore stuff. I'm just saying my idea was to take a pause there and acknowledge, okay, the show's over, whatever tasks need to be done to end the show. And I'm talking about your Thursday show specifically. You could easily put it to your studio shows on Monday, or what do you call it, Friday? Or
I'm not even doing Friday, but or haven't in a while. But
well, you were going to call your Friday show.
Friday's going straight up just a Clover Tack podcast, and then Monday's the lounge, and Thursday is the studio.
Oh, I thought you had another name. So it was just so anyway, when you're doing an industry interview, it would be applicable. Is all I'm saying, is that, just take a break and go, okay, now that, fit into the big scheme of things here or here. Because I don't do it. I'm not saying I fucking do it. It'd be great if I did it. I don't do enough stuff anymore that we need to. I do too much sloppy, wet pancake batter shit. It's hard to see that accumulate. But when you are doing stuff, it's a brick, right? Because that's the thing. You're building bricks every Thursday. And yeah, you might be building bricks on an assembly line, so you don't get time every once in a while to appreciate the bricks that are coming out. But that's what I'm trying to get at, I guess, is that's our one of our, what's the word, like quagmires that we can fall into, or pitfalls that we can have happen to us, is that we're not paying attention to the incrementals, and that's how you get off drift. That's how you get off course. And I'm not saying you're off course or nothing, not you, but for the that's what I was trying to get across to people who might be like new. It might be like, well, dang, like, let's say, I'm emulating somebody who's actually emulating a freaking TV show, which was emulating a magazine, if you really look at it. But everybody's following something that, they want to accomplish something that they've seen before, that they, whatever. And if somebody new is coming on board, and that's, I guess, and some of the people that are watching your stit aren't all 2 years into it, right? There are a whole bunch of people are jumping on board and finding you in whatever, your Thursday show. And then thinking, oh, you know what? But I was gonna flip flapjacks and talk about, my passion for Second Amendment, like whatever dang it, I forgot who brought out that suggestion. Was it Snob who brought the suggestion of cooking and rapping about 2A while you're
Yes.
cooking?
Right.
Like if somebody was going to do that, they might be like, oh, dang, like the recipe is, like I always say on Instagram, if you want to make money on Instagram, or if you want to get good views on Instagram, lay the gun down at an angle of 45, some sort of angle where it goes from one corner to the other, put a couple of rounds of ammo, ideally the amount of ammo that goes in the gun, light it nice, put it on a good background, and sit back and watch the numbers. Like Instagram is easy. Like there's a recipe. So if somebody were to come up and go, oh, well, that's not what I want to do. I wanted to put them on a fence. I wanted to have a cool looking gun on a fence that's all fisheye. And then they never did that. Well, they wouldn't realize that that's the other recipe. Boom. See, I even talk about it and it makes money. Like you put a gun on a fence and put a fisheye lens on that, you're making money on that picture. So that's all I'm getting at, is that if the people that are new come in and go, oh man, I was going to do something different, and maybe that's not what people are looking for here. Do I move platforms? Like, I don't know what people do, but I know I've seen just in gun channels, I've talked about it before, there were waves in gun channels. The first people, then they got sick of it because it wasn't what they expected, or it was horrible. Let's blame Quark. And then there was the horrible second year, and that was when I changed it from $1 a month to $12 a year. And then the second year was like the walking through the desert. And then the third and fourth, fifth years when you guys came around, and that brought a whole nother level. And while you guys were there, there was people that, came on initially with y'all. And then that's my question is, did they see, oh, well, you and you and you were doing that and being successful and everybody likes what you're doing, but I'm doing this and nobody cares. So I'm out of here. Well, maybe that didn't work for the 14 people that were, whatever. But, that's what I'm saying is, how many people are we losing along the way? And not that all of them were gold mines or treasures or, everybody's unique and blah, blah, blah. Just that, is there another way to do it where the focus is, I don't know, on that, more incremental or more, I don't know, based on more characteristics than just channel growth or, I don't know, whatever. Went a long way there. Let's see what the hell people bought at the store. Thanks for whoever bought something at the store.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
I almost bought stuff on Small Business Saturday, and then I didn't. I feel like an asshole. Not Small Business Saturday, on Cyber Monday.
Well, I just got something interesting. Not to switch topics, but I just got a email from another YouTube person. So they're wanting me to join the UVR program, which is unlisted video review.
What does that mean? So
it is a feature they're working on trying to implement, roll out. And Jeff from Tail Mouse, just a name drop because some folks out there don't know that channel.
Here, hold on. Just to name drop, that fucker screwed me over more than once, so I hate that fucker.
I meant just like that's who it was. So anyway,
just quickly, just so there's no.
I don't know the guy.
I don't like that guy. He's an a-hole. So just leave it at that.
Well, anyway,
okay.
But he has been in the program. But anyway,
so it's unscrupulous. I already don't like the program. Now that guy was. I'll tell you off here if I haven't given you the thing.
That's fine. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's not about him. It's about and he's not. He has no connection to this. I was just mentioning that to say that he was in the program. So there's another gun channel already doing things.
Oh, he's not a gun channel. Holy crap, he's not a gun channel.
Well, whatever they are, they're firearm adjacent or anything. But anyway, it's a program where you, because a lot of people now are screwing up because they're deleting a video and re-uploading it if things don't go their way. And so this is a program that they're trying to implement to where you can upload it unlisted, and you could apply to have it reviewed before you ever do anything with it, and then people will tell you specifically with timestamps and whatnot what's going on with it. Anyway, long story short.
But they're other creators, not YouTube people.
With YouTube people will tell you what's wrong with it. You basically work back and forth with a team at this point within YouTube, and it's just for troubled, nuanced niches. And ours is one of those. Obviously, there's several out there, but ours is a big one. So they reached out to me, I think yesterday morning, which was kind of weird because, like I said,
Oh, it's probably because you've been working with them on other things, right?
yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
I mean, when I was working at a place, like when somebody would, you have like you know what it's like, and you go out to smoke or something. So I'd be like, oh man, I need to work with XYZ, and be like, oh, I know a guy who's been working. I know a user. Basically, is what we call people. It's like I know a user who can do blah 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 with you.
Yeah, right. Right.
But anyway, yeah, that's cool. I mean, YouTube's not going anywhere, and I'm with you. I think I'm not putting yours, but I don't think they're out to get us. I think they're out to get anybody who's doing bad things. And if we do dumbass shit that makes it look like we're doing bad things, then robots are going to see us. And there's certainly people that are going to use misunderstandings and excuses to amplify whatever the hell their actual plans are. There's very few people that look at this as like a joint effort, like a community effort, I guess, collaborative thing. Like so many people are like, this is the Wild West or something, and it's like, yeah, I can get in and get out and like as many people as I want. And there's no consequences because I'm not going to go to jail. I'm still going to have my value when I get out of here.
Right.
And if anything, if I screw up, it's like a game reset. I'll just go into another niche. I'll go into vehicles and use the same strategy. I'll go into cooking and use the same strategy. I'll go into women's clothing, do the same strategy.
And people do it all the time. Yeah, there's certainly employees within YouTube that have biases in one form or another. There's a lot of ignorance obviously going on there as well. But
I wouldn't say there's one for one, but there's going to be the other guy who's from YouTube that knows guns and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it exists. To say there's no bias or whatever, let's say, with YouTube is it's very disingenuous, right? However, as far as corporate policy and stuff goes, it's not like they have directives from the top to squash these channels or this type of content or anything else. And what I've learned over the months that I've worked with the folks I have is we don't talk politics at all. You know what I mean? We don't even go there. Who you're voting for, or the latest headline on something with a senator, or even stuff with gun control and stuff like that, because that's, again, political adjacent. I don't even go down that road because that starts getting into something that could potentially hurt the conversation that I'm trying to have at this particular point in time. Right.
And so, and you're opening it up so that once they figure out how to leave everybody alone, then these other channels won't have the excuse potentially to go, oh, I can't talk about a political thing because then I'll be blah, blah, blah. Like, well, that's removed from the situation.
Right. It's one of those situations where if we can show that we can work with them and that, our freedom of speech and expression can coexist with policies that they need for liability purposes and such, or advertising models or whatever. And once we can show them that with one niche, how does that translate over into potentially helping others, right? Like the political news niche or something like that.
What do you think the odds are of getting somebody's ear and saying, another option for y'all is to just get off of your conniption and let gun manufacturers and the gun industry advertise, and then it's done.
Some of them already do.
No, I'm saying, but talk to somebody on YouTube and say, like, hey, like if you actually allowed that to happen instead of, making it a big deal, then all you would do is just make money all over the place and everybody would make money.
Right. That's a conversation I'm waiting to have, to be honest with you. Because I'm thinking
it's not like, oh, you need to talk to Sam in room 4 or whatever.
Right. I'm thinking a lot of what it is that you're talking about California, you're talking about Silicon Valley, you're talking about a company that, for the most part, with our niche and firearms content, unless you've got people on there using firearms in some weird very exploitive, whatever way. Like live streaming a suicide or something. You know what I'm getting at. Then, they don't even hardly know we exist. So it would stand to reason that a lot of their marketing people just don't understand. We could cold call these other manufacturers. I think the traffic we see with holster companies, Midway USA, I've seen a Henry ad or two, believe it or not. I think are gun industry companies that are contacting Google and AdSense, right? It's not the other way around. They're not headhunting. So one of the conversations I do want to open up to eventually, and whether that's me being a liaison for them and maybe me approaching some of the companies I've worked with and the contacts I know, or just putting out general feelers or whatever, but maybe opening up the conversation where exactly what you're talking about can happen, because I know what their initial response is going to be is that, well, we've got an issue where, that is, it's a hot button, hot topic issue. And so my first thing is disarm the bomb. You know what I mean? Let's get past that point. Once we get past that point, then let's have a conversation with their concerns, which their concerns are going to be that if they take, let's say, pick a company, Smith & Wesson. Let's say that they take Smith & Wesson ad money and then they put that in front of a
somebody has a
hot rod car channel, right? Video. But then that person or maybe their particular audience is like vehemently against that. They think it's not appropriate, da 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 da. What we need to get to is a point to where in AdSense you can do this to where, okay, well, let's tailor it down to where that doesn't happen. And Smith & Wesson, now you're aware of all these firearm content channels that exist. Put every one of those in, you know what I'm saying? Put Smith & Wesson in every one of those and let's move forward and let's all make money.
Well, that's been their fear, I think, right? Is that, if we have a misplaced ad or somebody sees it, they're going to have it. But exactly, like, that's them complaining that their tech isn't good enough, because I don't believe it, because I can pay to have it put in front of like somebody in a zip code down to 3 digits and like, at a certain time of day with the size ad I want, after they ate dinner. I can pay for a lot of stuff. I'm sure they can, like you said, put it in front of a channel where you'd expect to see it. But on the other hand, I guess as you're just describing that, I'm wondering, watching that future evolve, does that make it better for everybody? Or does that turn us all into a bunch of, basically whatever, but not valid, like into a bunch of let's get people's eyeballs because now everybody's making money. Because right now we know people make money, but how much more money would there be if they actually opened up the gates and gave us the same money that like a cooking channel or a makeup channel or a typical controversial subject can make? With free ads, like, I mean, literally everybody's making thousands of bucks a month just for being on YouTube, putting some part of the conversation. I don't know look at where it's at now. I mean, there's very few. I don't know if the percentages are the same as the regular population, but there's very few people that are running channels that are focused on anything of substance. It's mostly, like I call it following, but mostly, creating stuff that doesn't, I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, you alluded to it. I mean, it's one of them
situations. Get mad at stuffed animals. There's no need to get mad at stuffed animals. It's just that they're stuffed animals. Like, nobody's saving the world with stuffed animals. They're not like, if it was a stuffed animal of a certain thing that somebody could get behind, yeah, okay. But you know what I'm saying? For the most part, stuffed animals are like a nice thing for a fair, for like making a kid happy, but they're just not moving us in a giant direction. It's not getting rid of the NFA.
Now, couldn't they do something with like tags and whatnot where content creators that are monetized could, put in, well, I was going to say for like ads that they want to run, like say, let's say Lowe's had their own channel and they didn't want Home Depot ads running before their videos played. They could put in tags of words that they don't want, and content create or the people that are coming to YouTube saying, hey, we want to run ads, they have their own tags too, and if they match up, then boom, they run. And if
I
they
believe
don't, they don't get played that way.
I think so. It sounds like that doesn't sound like something I didn't see even years ago in AdSense. So
Yeah,
I think you can do that.
It's more on a keyword level nowadays.
Right. It's keyword. It would be like, I don't want my pea soup to show up in front of somebody that doesn't eat peas. So, it's
Right.
so much for like that as much as it's for like offensive stuff or like stuff that's
Right.
inappropriate. Or like,
It's
I don't
like,
want to show this in front of somebody on a
Well-
Saturday when it's the religious day and it should be showing up on a Sunday or something.
yeah. Well, YouTube knows synonyms and antonyms. It recognizes that. Talking about the AI. So not that it doesn't happen. I mean, how many gun channels got Biden ads right on their stuff? But then again, I don't, my channel, I don't talk a lot of political, and from an algorithm standpoint, right? It's not programmed to say that, oh, since he's talking about guns, he must be anti-Biden, so we need to not put the Biden ad there. You know what I mean? Because I haven't really given it any identifiers one way or another. And if anything, with me doing the buy shotgun video with Joe Biden, right? It might pick that up as, oh, well, this creator's okay with Joe Biden ads being on this video. But you have some control within your AdSense. If you log into your AdSense account, you do have some control being able to block certain ads and certain things. You opt out basically of certain companies and things like that. You can custom tailor that if you really want to get nerdy and go in and spend some time. For me, I'm all about the Benjamins, man. So I don't care. Roll your ad.
We're an hour and a half more into it. Smokey's out there. I know it's late for everybody. Club already did say a bunch of show. But something about what you were saying there made me think about years ago, I had petitioned the concept of sponsor a gun shop or get with a gun shop, and then they can help you out maybe financially or with resources, let you have stuff to shoot or something. And then you can, get people in their door. And, it's a way to, what's the word, match up or, have some efficient use of all the resources we got out here. But I guess what my question is going forward, is that even a thing in 2021? How chaotic did this shortage, rush, and political situation in 6 different ways mess with that? I don't know if you guys had heard me talk about that, but I think I summarized it right there. But is that even a possibility? Is it more of a possibility, or is it out of the question completely going forward?
I think it has a good chance.
I totally missed. I was chatting with Smeggy out there. What did you?
Oh, I was saying back in the day, I used to put out this concept of working with a gun shop. You
Yeah.
from them, you push towards them. And I'm saying, is that going forward? Would that even be possible in a 2021, or is it more possible? Is it even a better concept now, or is it out of the question completely?
I think I've been doing it for a while myself, and I think that yeah, kind of like you were talking about, one of your deals was adopt a gun shop or something like that, and then adopt a creator to go with it and stuff.
Yeah, kind of pair up, right? Help out.
Yeah. I think a lot of creators do that. I think that if there was some way to make it more conducive, and we talk about apps, right? You talk about
Snap. Yeah,
platforms.
exactly. What if an app was hey, here, I'm the creator and I'm the gun shop, and now they're super friends.
So hold that thought for a second, and I'll be right back. But yeah, I really want to go down that rabbit hole, G. Hang on.
So form of the Second Amendment defender.
Yeah, I think my biggest hang up with that is I'm just not sure how to approach any of the shops. Like the shop that I normally go to most often, that I talk about majority of the time on here.
Have you seen Saturday Night Live? Have you seen Saturday Night Fever yet? The movie?
A long time ago.
All right, so you're going to want to get a boombox, and you're going to want to open the door of the gun shop and set your boombox in there and hit the play button, and then go back outside. And then it's going to start playing that Saturday Night Fever song, and then have somebody else open the door, use a rope and some pulleys or something, have the door open, and then you come strutting in like Saturday Night Fever, and then that'll get their attention. And then they're all looking at you, and they know you got something to say at that point. And then just be like, hey, I run a channel, and you want, we can work together. Let's be internet buddies. Or,
Yeah,
whatever words, but that gets you to the counter.
he recently mentioned that he had seen one of my videos.
You're halfway there. You're basically done already.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I'm have to go in there next week, pick up the kids' layaways that I have there, and I'm thinking about mentioning it, saying, hey, you remember seeing that video on YouTube, because he every so often will do videos on Facebook and stuff when he gets, like a big ammo shipment in, stuff like that. And I mean, for what he's doing, it's basically, hey, here's this, here's that, this is what we got. But I was like, I could probably spice it up a little bit, add some cuts and things like that. And
don't hold on. If he's watching your videos, first off, make a video about how making a video on Facebook is basically wrapping up $100 bill around a diamond and sending it to communism, to fight communism. So be like, first off, quit making videos on Facebook. And then second off, make a video on your channel saying about how you'd like to work with a gun shop and you have so much to offer. And this is what you'd expect out of a gun shop in return for what you're looking for out of a gun shop. Mm-hmm. And then he would see that video. And then maybe the next time you went in there, he'd be like, hey, find a gun shop yet?
Well, I don't even know if he's actually actively watching my channel.
That would tell you.
It would.
And then you could go, hey, you ever thought about working with a YouTuber? And you could go,
mm-hmm.
what are you talking about? And then you could go, hey, watch this video.
So my thought when you mentioned that, and I'd seen this, it's not a foreign concept, but I like Shark Tank. And so I was watching an episode of Shark Tank, and they come in with an app, and it didn't even hit me until you were talking about this just a second ago, but it was an app that matched up companies looking for specific skills with people that had said skills.
Like Poma. And that's kind of one
sort of, but you gotta be a member of Poma, right? It's not just a wide open app.
But I'm saying that's one of the benefits or one of the opportunities that Poma offers is that matchup.
Yes. So, but it doesn't actually match them up either, right?
No, it doesn't actively do anything, right? It offers the opportunity, but you got to actively do both sides of that. Yeah.
What I'm getting at is I go in there and we'll use GMB down there for an example. I run the app, and so it's 99 cents for the app, or maybe it costs on one end or the other. It costs a little bit a month on the business end, or a little bit a month on the, we'll just call it the contractor, I guess, end. But so GNB would go in there and he would say, okay, I do YouTube videos, write articles for this, I do that. I like lever guns, I like revolvers, I like hunting. You come up with all this criteria, right? It's kind of like Dial a Date or something, seriously, like a dating app. And then the gun shop gets on and they go, oh, we're in this part of the country. We sell more revolvers than anything. We have a lot of hunters that come through the store. Ding, ding, ding. Here's your creator that, we need somebody to promote us on social media. We need somebody to help us with, we want a podcast appearance somewhere to get the word, whatever, right? And though that criteria matches up, same as it would with, like, say, a dating app or something like that, right? So it's not just a database, and it's not like Poma where you kind of throw out, we're looking for X, Y, and Z, as far as help. We look for a photographer, we're looking for a media marketing manager, whatever it might be, and that's where it ends. You're actually facilitating it from both sides.
No, like a dating service.
Exactly like a dating service.
But yeah. You could do it mechanically. You could definitely set it up like date.com with one of those systems, actually, because those are off the shelf. You could, I'm not going to rag on anybody, but fill in the blank of a system you already know that's just off the shelf that is doing stuff. So yeah, you could definitely take it off shelf, rebrand it with like guncollaboration.com or something, and then do that. But I think it would be neater to do it as a dating service, like one of these things, like where the little old lady who actually knows the people says, "Oh, you know what? These 3 creators are going to be perfect for you. Pick one, or work with all 3." And then the same thing, like, "Oh, these 3 gun shops are going to be good for you, or pick, or work with all 3." Because it's not like has to be 1 and 1, unless there was some. I can't imagine why you'd set it up that way, but unless there was some way to set it up that it needed to be 1-on-1. Or maybe you could request, I only want to work with 1 gun shop, or I only want to work with 1 creator, because you might not have time or ability to work with more than 1. So I guess that could be a factor.
Yeah, or even for a certain amount of time, right? So you go in there and you get matched, and it's a certain gun shop. Well, it's like, I only want to work with 1 at a time, and so I what I can do is I can go in there and I can what do they call it? Snowbird. I can go in there and I can snowbird my account for 6 months, because I've got, for 6 months, I'm going to be working with this particular gun shop. So I'm going to take my profile out of the public, so nobody is looking at it. I don't have to worry about replying to things or anything like that for the 6 months I'm working with this this gun shop. Same thing the other way around. They can put it in that, they don't want to work with any more than 2 at a time. Maybe they want to work with as many as possible over the next month,
So now that you describe that, it's exactly that one YouTube thing I showed you a long time ago that I got invited into. I forgot what it's even called anymore. Remember that one, though? It was from YouTube. It was built by YouTube people, and then I could go in there and choose like the software or the piece of flashlight or whatever, and then it would basically it would tell them. It was like kind of like LinkedIn. When you try to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you're just not automatically connected like on YouTube. I want to subscribe to Clover's channel. I go to his channel, I push the button, and I'm subscribed to his channel. He can't do nothing about it. On LinkedIn, if I went to Clover's place on LinkedIn and said, I want to be a friend of yours, he'd have to say, I don't know who you are. Like, I have to decide if I'm going to be a friend of yours. And it's sort of like that. Like, you can decide or not.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, totally. So there's your app, maybe.
But anyway, so yeah, there was that thing that, and it was more of a, see, that's the thing. I was asking a friend of mine, because I have been thinking about, I don't know if I talked to you about it already off air or not, but I have been thinking about a project, and it requires stuff I don't know. I know how to do it online, but I don't know how to do it on a phone, and I don't know if it's worth learning how to do it on a phone, because I don't know which way would be the better way to do it. Because when you talk about doing anything, remember, it's all 1s and 0s. It's all it ever is. So that means it's all databases, and that means you got to figure out whatever thing you want to happen, how to turn that into a bunch of stuff that actually happens in databases. And whenever you're thinking about that complex, weird, basically just think of it like shooting a P90. Like, however the ammo goes from horizontal to vertical, or, from perpendicular to in line with the barrel, like, no matter how you do that, you're going to have that magazine. You're going to make that magazine out of plastic or aluminum or something. You're going to have it affixed to the gun. That's all the stuff nobody thinks about with apps. People think about its interface, and they think about if it's fast or if it works, but nobody thinks about where the giant piece of the thing lives that actually is the app. And that's all the structure, the code, and basically the person you're buying, or this company you're buying all that server space from. That's all determined in the beginning when you first build the thing. And that you got to have a lot of insight as to where it's going before you decide what language or what schema to put it together in, because you can grow something into a football stadium, or you could grow something into a movie theater, or you could grow something into a mall. And all of them require similar bricks and pieces of steel at the beginning, but you know what I mean? Like, they're all going to take different blueprints or something. So I don't know if I'm using too many analogies there, but yeah, that's the part of this stuff that nobody thinks about, is that back end. Like, it's just complex as hell. And man, you think about, let's think about 9mm people and how much of jerks they are and how they're snooty and they think they're so good. In coding, it's the same way. If somebody knows how to do like C# or Linux or whatever, not Linux, I guess, but whatever, pick a whole bunch of different languages. Everything can be done in their language, and it's easy in their language. And this is the best way to do it. And you definitely don't want to do it in that other language I don't know how to use. And so when you talk to 4 or 5 people to get advice, it's all very difficult, because everybody wants to make it sound like they are the only one that know how to do it, or that they don't understand it, that it's it's not possible. So talking to computer people is pretty difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that all this stuff would be neat, but I think that's the reason we don't see any of it, is because how do you actually put it together? It requires, again, somebody knows what they're doing and then has the resources, and I guess that doesn't line up very often.
Right.
Speaking of that, we had a bit of a thing there. We had gun channels started in 2013. That was off the shelf software. Me and another guy looked around. He had the money and I had the interest in doing it, the time and the willingness to do it. And we both had the tech savvy. So we looked around and we picked some software that cost a couple $1,000 and we bought it. He bought it. And then we put it on a server and we cheaped out and put it on a small server, and it kind of clunkied around because we had it on a cheap small server for a year. And then that guy decided we weren't doing it what he wanted to do. So I had to buy him out, and I bought him out. And then that was the beginning of credit card debt. And then, well, not the beginning, but additional credit card debt, put that on a credit card. And then just found out, like, by trying to troubleshoot stuff, that we had it on a bad server, put it on a real server, which it costs a little bit more money, but not as much as you'd think. And boom, channels actually worked. So, I have some experience, like all that kind of crap behind the scenes and shit. But man, that's, there's a lot to, I don't know, what's the word, juggle, keep track of. There's so many different options out there. We don't have them. We have gun channels came around 13. We have, what's the other one called? Full 30. They claim they created it. I don't know. Clover can tell you. That came around in 14 or 15. Then you had, when did Tube and Streamer and Huge come together? Was that 16 or 17? 17?
17.
Are they 3 years old now?
I think. Yeah.
Might end of 17, maybe. I'm looking at my calendar on the wall here, trying to keep track of it too. So,
Gunstreamer did the YouTube thing, and then I think the following SHOT Show that fell through later in the year, and then the following SHOT Show is when they went and ran so hard, and I think that was that was 19.
They went to 2 SHOT Shows, and they went to SHOT Show in 19 week. They went to SHOT Show in 18 strong. So that means they were built in at least 17, or couldn't have been 16. So it would have been 17 that they were built.
Right.
I think if we're doing our math right backwards.
Yeah.
Right. Because last year they showed up, and the year before is when they were strong and they just kicked butt at SHOT Show, but then didn't turn into Gun Streamer in 2019 when YouTube decided to quit streaming. Right. So they didn't talk to us anywhere between SHOT Show of 18 and all the way through September of 19 when they got rid of streaming. Anyway, right. So those were 17. So we had 13 gun channels. We had like 15 or 14, the full 30. You had 17. Well, they're not necessarily all platforms, but I don't even know when Full 30 started their forum. It was like 18 or something. It was after Streamer and Tube built themselves. Right. And then YouTube failed in 18, right? I think it failed pretty quick. Didn't take very long for that guy to get in trouble and to just not have a good direction and a poor, basically, relationship with the people he bought the off-the-shelf software from. Streamer bought off-the-shelf software and modified it themselves in-house and turned it into an efficient, both video based and channel focused video hosting platform, where YouTube was stream focused. You couldn't search for channels, so you couldn't go find somebody you liked and look. You couldn't really, maybe you could subscribe, but I don't remember a way to filter your subscriptions. If it was hidden. It was really expecting you to go to like the front page and watch the stream of stuff as if that was somehow appealing to a lot of people or something. So I think it was just poorly designed, and no one scrutinized it and really thought about its usefulness, right? Nobody probably did any kind of audit of its actual use or anything, like visitor paths or anything. Right. So anyway, so those platforms have all done what they've done. Am I missing any? I feel like I'm missing one. Oh yeah, there was one when we built gun channels that came out in 14 called what was it called? It was out of South Carolina, I think. And it was made by a radio station that decided to make a marketing company, and they were going to build a same off the shelf software. They obviously had way more resources than us. They bought some off the shelf software and put on a really nice server. Damn it, I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically literally the same software. So I was looking at that one, but it had Julie Galoob and a bunch of people. I suspect because they had a bunch of funding that they probably paid people sponsorships to endorse them and create channels there, and then no one used it. So it was almost comical that they set this whole thing up, and it was like an old West town or something. Like, it looked big in the front, but once you looked at it for like 6 months, a year later, it hadn't grown or changed. Everyone joined it at the beginning, and then found out that it was a facade. Nothing was happening. There was no life to it. But and there's had to be others, because it's a couple of $1,000 to put together a platform, and much less if you did it on the cheap. So we're probably missing a bunch. But I guess my question was, is there still a future of that? Do you think there'll be more attempts at gun focused things?
Oh yeah. I'm sure there will be.
Leaning on my chair and I smashed into my table.
So what's the deal with Full 30?
Right now they're going through. We're talking about the forum or the video side, or what are you talking about?
Well, you can address either. I'll be happy to know.
The video side, they are, and I'm in a. I don't even remember the name of the place. They got a place they communicate. It's kind of like Discord, and I can't remember the name of it now. But anyway, they did some upgrades here a few months back, some pretty major stuff. The way it's operating and stuff like that. It actually is. Once everything is fixed and all the bugs are worked out, it'll be really great. But they're having trouble getting the bugs worked out, quite honestly. And then the forum is a totally separate thing. You land on the video site, you click on the forum, that's a totally separate thing, managed and everything completely different. So, but you get up until the upgrades, I got really good traction over there on Full 30, and still do to this day when I link stuff into the forum and stuff like that. So pretty vibrant community. The problem is kind of like you deal with Parlor now. Everybody, rush to Parlor, and it's a big let's all scream in our echo chamber type thing. And Full 30 is sort of the same way. And I think they got to figure out a way to try to break out of that a little bit.
I have never had good luck with the speed of their server on its way over to me. The 10-second lag when you're clicking on hypertext or something like that, and then it takes forever to load up the screen, and then the video play starts to lag after a couple of seconds, and then sometimes it just locks up. And it doesn't matter how I try to come at it, every angle that I've tried, at least, I end up with the same result, and that's just too damn frustrating.
Yeah.
So is that some of the bugginess that they're working out now?
Yes.
Good.
How long ago did you get on? How's it been?
Probably 3-4 months ago.
Okay.
Or more.
That may be lined out right now. Might be.
Okay. I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I guess the question was if there's going to be other platforms and stuff. I don't know. Is there anything else to that? We're just about hitting the 2-hour mark, though. The dog's back here making a bunch of noise, drinking. He's just on drinking every single day.
Yeah, I think watching Parlor play out is going to be kind of interesting. That seems to me to be the latest. Come here and sign up your account.
It would be interesting. I'm working on a couple of 3 things right now. The printer I didn't have any blue ink, and it's really frustrating working on printing things when I'm kind of already addicted to having a color printer. I can with the color tone, with the color laser printer, I can print something, not an entire book necessarily. I'm too cheap to do that, but I can certainly print like a page or something and test it. So now that I can do that and not have to worry about printing like a page now and then to see something without being able to do that, when the blue was gone and I couldn't do that, I was not interested in editing printable stuff. So I started a couple of other projects. Damn it, where was I going with that? What was the last thing you said, DJ? Oh, I was going to say something to whatever DJ said. Then I started talking about the printer to explain why I was working on another project. And then,
working on. I started to talk about Parlor and seeing how that plays out.
Yeah,
and then,
Parlor.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been back and forth on things and trying to, like for cyber, whatever, I was trying to post stuff on Parlor, and man, it is just so clunky and slow. Like, I don't know. I was going to say to Clover, oh, that's what I was getting at. I started working on a draft of a project where I was going to start doing some stuff with a timeline thing. And a portion of that is to attempt, I saw a pretty good meme and it had a list of all these things that were like the end of the world over the years. So I was going to try to attempt to archive some of the things in, recent and maybe past history here, but our history of episodes similar to the various things that we're dealing with or we're going to be dealing with, I suspect, coming up here, just so that people don't, I don't know if people have the perception that this is the first time or the only time or the most dire time. But again, to get people aware that there's, we've had to deal with this stuff before, there might be stuff we can learn from the past or use for motivation going into the other side of it. Anyway, so as I was coming up with all that, going back and looking at, all the iterations, whatever DJ just said there, but in the past. You were talking about lost it again, DJ. It's getting late. What did you? Oh, he's muted.
No, I'm here.
What was the last thing you said again? Remind me again. Fucking wandered around and lost it again.
Oh no, the stuff you're working on, Parlor, kickoff, watching it ascend or fail.
Thank you. So I was going to ask people like Clover who have seen things like Instagram and MySpace and the different iterations of platforms come and go. I don't think it's more than just people got sick of Twitter and went to Instagram. It's not like people got sick of YouTube and went to Instagram. It's that Instagram had an interesting thing. When Instagram is annoying, there's been, I don't even know now. Parlor's like at least the third big thing that's like, oh, we're leaving and going to XYZ.
Right.
But the problem is their tech is so shitty and clunky that it can't support. It's just horrible. Not, even, I guess it's possible that what Clover was saying, I think, is that even if it was good system, it can get boring talking to the people who are just boring, talking about the same thing over and over. But even when it was like, oh, we're leaving for some other reason non-political, so we're going to take all our various, nuance of discussion with us, that came right back because it couldn't handle it, or it was just like the thing about Parlors, you can only put a picture in. Well, you can put a picture or a video, but you have to do about 6 steps to get the picture in there. And then if you have a link in your comments, it's going to put the link first and not the picture. So it's going to put that default Parlor dumb thing up, and nobody understands this yet, and they haven't gotten enough feedback to change that little thing yet. So there's just never going to be a time where people, or at least at this point, you can't scroll through Parlor and see pictures. You scroll through Parlor and see a whole bunch of placeholders for the link, which is that stupid Parlor black and red picture that if I see it again, it's like you close your eyes after you stare at the sun, you see that freaking Parlor icon. It's so clunky and lame. I guess people who are on Twitter, who are used to like, Twitter looks like digital vomit to me. It looks almost as bad as, it looks like a little bit weaker version of Facebook, but it's just shit bombarding you from every edge of every screen and little pop-ups and little wigglies and everything's blinking. It's like being on an old GIF website or something half the time.
Right.
So, you know, Parler is trying to get people off of Twitter. Maybe that kind of stuff doesn't bother them. But coming from Instagram, where it's, you've seen, I mean, people I think who follow me have seen Instagram. It's picture and a little white space, picture, little white space, picture, little white space. And Parler is all garbage filler, blah, blah, and maybe a picture and garbage filler, words, more. You know, you have to click on shit to read the rest of a sentence. I'm not into that much work. I'm not doing like finger gymnastics and all kinds of reading for a social platform. Like, I want it to be Instagram.
Right.
So I think if they came up with a gungram where it was literally very, very similar to Instagram, just leave us alone, you know, that might work. But then you get into that problem of who's going to go over there,
Right.
and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's the other thing, I guess, too, is if our friends who are not gun people are on Instagram, I don't have that problem because all of my friends are either people I know that you all know or not on social platforms. Like, my friends in real life don't use the internet. Maybe I use it too much in front of them and they get sick of it. They know what's going to happen to them.
Right.
But I mean, I don't have that problem. But people who have kids or work or family or something that are also on Instagram and they can't just leave Instagram, that would be the problem, right? Those people don't want to have to decide, or it's unfair to them to have to decide, don't talk about guns or stay with your family, I guess, or whatever the hell that decision.
Right.
So anyway, I don't think Parler's going to stick around too much longer. We'll see everybody probably jump back. Although I have seen a lot of channels on Instagram that claim to be gone. You know, that said, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back.
Right.
You playing guitar over there?
I'm not. Who was it?
Oh,
I asked you. Who
sorry.
did I ask about 2A gaming?
DJ is.
Well, Clover always has a guitar saying in there. I figured it's him.
No, me. Not this time.
Well-
Hey, I'm gonna jump though. Meds are kicking in. So y'all have a good evening.
Okay, take it easy. Thanks for
See you,
jumping in.
Clover.
Bye.
Later.
I was going to tell him about how I should mention to the Locked and Loaded podcast on Sunday about the 2A gaming thing. So it's another angle that we could chat about with Clover in the future. But it is the 2 hour mark, and Clover left, and Garrett jumped in here. Smuggy was chatting about 15 minutes ago. But unless you guys got more topics for tonight, I'm saying let's cut it. And see, I was in the middle of working on a thing. I got my printer back. I got my printer thing a day early. Said I was going to get here Friday. I got it today, and it was enough. I got it early enough that I was able to get it installed and get everything running again. So I printed out copies of the book for Smeggy, who is going to get 2 packages because I sent him his first one before I didn't know idea when the printer thing was going to actually get here. And then Snob, both of those guys bought a 50 States book. Thanks for that. So both of those went in the mail today. I was able to print them before the mail showed up. So let's see. Otherwise, like I say, I'm working on that calendar. I don't know if DJ, you got that calendar, right?
Yes, I did. Very, very nice. And I didn't feature it, but it was certainly part of my pan and scan of my last shipment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging that up in the new year.
Yeah, so that was a project. That is a project I've been working on. I figured you'd, be interesting to get one of the prototypes or what. But about that Illuminator thing to do the covers or that. The problem is because everything sounds good on paper and then you do it, right? So the issue is that it barely fits into bubble wrap. So my question is, how did it arrive? Was it all beat up? Is there any danger of the edges being mauled in that kind of shipping?
No, not really, because it has the support of being page dense. I would definitely run the comb binder to the outside seam so that so it lends further rigidity to the package. But yeah, it arrived just fine, and it was nestled in there right up against the outside, the inside surface.
Are you saying run the holes in the paper or whatever so that the spiral thing is taking as big a bite out of the paper as possible?
Not so much as just when you after you go through the comb binding and you're ready to slide it into the envelope, make it run parallel to an outside edge. instead. Well, I mean, because it's side to side, that's pretty much any way it works. But yeah, so I guess I should have thought about that before I responded. But no, it arrived in great shape. It helped the package to stay flat and not get mauled. And the only thing that was difficult was because I didn't do a full slice across the package when I opened it. I had to fiddle fart trying to even pull it out, really. So,
But see, that's the other thing. When it fills that bubble thing 100%, like literally, then yeah, it's you don't really, then how do you know that's not a piece of cardboard in there or something? So maybe somebody's going to jam into it, and then you got to completely destroy the envelope in order to get it out of there without bending it over. Although I think it'd be pretty tough to bend it, but I'm sure, dropping it as a package being smashed around, I'm sure it could angle it. So anyway, that would involve putting a piece of cardboard in there, and that's a pain in the ass because I don't have a bunch of pieces of cardboard or what. But anyway, so that's I thought it would look good on paper, but I don't think it's going to be feasible as an actual thing. So you might have one of the very few number of them in that format, at least. I think it's going to need to be realistically like chopped down or something, like moved in some dimension to make it practical.
well, yeah, I'm looking forward to using it.
Here working on. So I'm going to jump back to that barbecue. Can't tell. I don't know what happened with his icon. You're having issues.
Am I having?
I don't know. We just don't get your icon, so I'm never sure if that's. You've also been clicking in and out, so I'm never sure if it's like an echo or just a whatever shadow of what you were in here. Or if you're in.
Yeah, I must be having signal issues then if it's doing that.
Anyway, unless you guys got anything else. Sorry, he yawned right on that thing. Then we'll get out of here. Whenever Garrett shows up, that's when we run out of here. Oh, right. Well, so ended at 12. Man, I could have ended it at 12, 12, 12 right there. Or I mean at 2, 12, 12. But whatever. So what is this one? Is episode something. It's December 4th. Tomorrow's the 5th. So tomorrow's the 5th. That's a thing.
Yeah. The Daily Gun Show 12/29, that's my birthday. So good show.
29 Tuesday.
Oh, is that what day it's on this week, this year?
Yep.
I think so.
Right on.
I go see the big eye doctor on the 28th.
Right on, man.
That's a Monday, so.
Well, I hope you have a good result and a clear path.
I'm going to say all that happens is I go down there, they dilate me, I sit there for 45 minutes while they wait for the drops to take hold. Doctor comes in, asks me questions for about 5 minutes while he looks at my eyes, and then says, come back in 6 months. And it's an hour and a half drive one way to get there. So, yeah, it's awful.
That's a horrible time and other resource suck. Yeah, I think that there's something new in optometry where you don't have to do, it's like the drops, but they're super accelerated or something like that. Like those, 45-minute, hour-long wait times in the foyer, isn't necessary anymore. I think someone said something about that.
Well, if they have them, they don't have them at my neuro-ophthalmologist yet. Maybe I'll have them this time.
Yeah, wrong.
All right. Well, just be whatever what's the word? Devil's advocate? I don't know if that's the right word for that. I was just been watching a bunch of westerns. So imagine back in the day. So driving a half an hour or an hour, whatever, and a half to hang out for a while to talk to somebody who's been to like I would say ultimate level education, and then looking at you and making sure everything's good to go, and then being monitored and whatnot, and then knowing that somebody with that kind of awareness is monitoring it. I would think that's better than back in the day. So it might suck, but at least it's probably better than communism today still, right?
Or maybe, for sure.
I don't know. Communism does sound pretty nice. They give everybody a little bit of something. Nobody has to work. Somebody else has to do everything. Sounds pretty good. Just wake up and it's all sunshine. Feasts and buffets, breakfast buffets until the lunch buffet, until the dinner buffet on somebody else's time. We'll leave everybody with that communist utopia. I'll do the link out there. I don't know if we're going to stay in here or not, but Pink's welcome to jump in. Pink's been jumping in sometimes. We talk off air. Back in the old days, there would be, everybody had their own time slots because we were just polite, and somebody would pick Monday and then they'd do a show for a long time, and then maybe some circumstances and they would drop their slot and they'd let everybody know, hey, I'm going to be quitting my show and dropping my slot. And then somebody else would go, right on, I'm going to take that slot and I'm going to do a show. And everybody go, okay, cool. And then respect that time zone. And then rogue motherfuckers like Quark would come in there and be like, I'm just going to do a show whenever I feel like it. And then you get named. That's what Quark's all about. So anyway, those shows would happen. And then after those shows would happen, right, that's when the mainstream, like, people would show up and act like they knew what they were doing and whatever. After those shows, then the nighttime shows would come around. And that's where Pink comes from. Back in the old days, of the early days of the internet, when everything was still black and white, that's when Pink came along, and he would have the after chats that he would turn them on and then go to work. So it would just be, he was that hardcore. He would just turn on a chat and go to work, leave a link in the description of it, and then go to work. And people were respectful of that they would jump in and they would keep sharing that link so that everybody could always jump in, because what would happen if no one was in there? And you've seen what happens if a chat, well, maybe you haven't seen what happens if a chat runs for 8 hours, and it can, and nobody's in the side chat, the text just disappears. So at some point, you got to go in and throw the link out again. So things like throw the link out, right? That's a phrase from back in the day, and Pink invented all that shit. Nobody remembers that, but, well, there was a couple of people that had lobbies. Pink didn't invent the concept, but nobody ever just did it every single night for years like Pink. And then Knives came along and took over when Pink quit doing it, because he didn't have same circumstances anymore. So anyway, back in those days, the after chats were the shit, because then we just had everybody either watched, or somebody else, most of the people just watched all these daytime chats. They would talk about what happened, and we'd be right because we were right, and they just said a bunch of wrong shit, and we could show them how they were fucking wrong about whatever wrong shit they were saying. And then we solved everything. So every night it would be a bunch of people ruining shit and being wrong in the daytime. And then we'd come along after and fix it all and make everything right in the world. And then people could wake up in the morning, just watch the nighttime chats, and be better. And life was good, and the economy started getting better, and everybody was happy, and it was pretty awesome. And then after a while, night chats stopped happening. And that's when you started seeing, pollution and the gravity hole that happened on the other side of the moon that they don't talk about. All the bad shit started happening at that point. But we throw the link out there, and we have our own little version of the after chats. 3 of us, just like this, except without all y'all. And I don't have to nag and mope hardly ever as much. Only about 2/3 as much moping in the after chats.